So it wouldn't be a redemption build if we didn't tackle the exhaust as well. So guess who's back?
What's up, guys? I'm back and I'm ready to throw down some dimes for vibrant again.
Hello everybody and welcome back to episode 5 of Project Redemption. Today's going to be a bit of a bonus episode. We're going to be tackling the exhaust on the RX-7, starting with a 321 downpipe.
So what we have here is the turbo outlet flange and the V-band clamp that goes with it, as well as the 16 gauge 321 bends that we're going to be using, and their new Heatsink O2 bungs that I really like for doing all of the rotary cars I do.
Yeah, we're also going to be using some V-bands on the end of the downpipe as well as a flex, because every exhaust needs a flex.
So like I said, every exhaust needs a flex. It's always good to put it as far forward as possible, so we're going to be putting it in the downpipe. At Vibrant, we sell a bunch of different flexes, so if you're unsure of which flex you need for your application, be sure to give us a call and we can help you out. For this application, because we want to mitigate vibration, thermal growth, and any sort of movement, we're going to be using Vibrant's Turbo Flex coupling. The Turbo Flex is great because it has an interlock liner that is robust for high heat and performance applications. To connect my oxygen sensor to the downpipe, we're going to be using Vibrant's all-new Heatsink O2 bung. These bungs are great. They're specifically made for the Bosch LSU 4.9 oxygen sensors. In my previous setup, I was going through oxygen sensors all the time due to that rotary heat. So this bung is going to be great. I should be able to hang on to sensors a little bit longer and save myself some money in the long run. To connect the downpipe to the actual turbo, we're going to be using Vibrant's 304 stainless steel V-band clamp and flange for the BorgWarner EFR 7670. So as we mentioned, we're going to be using 321 for the downpipe, just like we did in episode 3 for the turbo manifold. Highly recommend that you go back and check that one out for some features and benefits, but overall 321 is great for high temp applications.
First things first, we're going to take this 90-degree bend and we're going to chop it at the right angle that we need in order to get the bend to go around his intake manifold. Because we made that new exhaust manifold, it kind of changed a couple of our dimensions and the way things were going to be ran previously. So now we got to make some changes on the exhaust and downpipe as we build this all new one. One of the really cool features about these HD alignment clamp tools is that you can actually take this knurled knob off of these and use them on the V-bands to make it a lot easier to set up whenever you're dealing with exhaust, turbos, or whatever, because this knob fits all of their V-bands. So we got the first pipe tacked into the turbo flange, and now we're going to be placing the flex section. A little trick I do versus some other guys is I'll weld a longer tube into the flex section, and then I'll actually chop it down if I need to, but this should be just the right length for what we're trying to accomplish with the rest of the downpipe here.
And I guess, yeah, we're going to be putting a V-band here, so it's going to be nice and modular. I'll be able to take the downpipe off. And
yeah, hopefully one day Kyle decides to put a nice huge turbo on this thing and shoot for 1,000, but we'll see.
Yeah, maybe when I do the 3-rotor swap.
There you go.
Yeah, and then you can see that we already started doing the bottle resonator at the back. That's going to be more in the later episode, but Tanner has it mocked up so that he has a nice line to.
Yeah, there's really nothing worse than trying to build someone a custom exhaust and then you forget that they got to put in a nice big resonator in the middle of the system, and you kind of didn't account for that. So yeah, we're trying to make sure that we got everything all mocked up exactly where it needs to be. We may move things a little bit, but for the most part, I think this is pretty much where everything's going to land.
Yeah, I'm stoked for it.
Cool. So now that I've welded the flex section, I'll kind of walk you guys through a little bit about what I do on the welding side. I got the machine set at about 125 amps. I use a lot of torch angle and I have it pretty hot, as you can kind of tell from the weld. Some of the spots on this welded okay, but flex sections, as any fabricator knows, they're the worst. But this one welded out pretty good. I'm happy with it. And then obviously we purge the inside with one of the Purge plug kits that I sell. If you guys have any other questions about this, leave a comment, let me know what you guys think, and yeah, keep watching. So now that we got the flex all welded up, we're gonna go ahead and pull off the first piece of the downpipe and go take that in the weld shop. And we're gonna get this all welded out so we can keep on rolling with this project. So now that we got this flange all welded up. We're gonna let it sit on the turbo housing until it cools all the way down. That way the flange doesn't warp and we don't give Kyle an exhaust leak, because nothing worse than getting that on a brand new build. So let's let this cool down and we'll go work on some other stuff.
All right, now that Tanner's done welding the flange onto the downpipe, I'm gonna throw this turbo back on so that we can test fit it, put the car back up and see how the flex fits on it.
So Kyle went ahead and threw the downpipe portion back in. I went ahead and also tacked on the flex section that we just welded to the top portion of the downpipe. So now we're gonna use another bend and we're gonna start kind of calculating how to get, you know, from basically the outlet of the flex all the way to the cat. And then we're also gonna be putting a V-band in right about here. So we're gonna go ahead and work on that right now. So a cool little trick is use these little universal plugs. You cap the end of your tube, that way you don't make a mess with your coolant whenever you're using a bandsaw that has a flood coolant like this. So we're gonna go ahead and sand this down and weld a V-band onto the end of it. All right, so now that we got our piece cut for the V-band to go onto this cat, we're just gonna give everything a little acetone wipe down and we're gonna go ahead and tack it all together. And we're gonna throw it on our little positioner and we're gonna give it some dimes. So we got the cat all welded up with our V-band. We got a little piece of straight tube right here to kind of mock some things up. And we're gonna test fit this thing in here, and I'm not really sure what I'm gonna do yet, but you know, we're gonna figure it out. So all we gotta do is take a little bit off this to kind of bring that bend back a little bit to straighten out the entry into this. And we should be all good. It should come together pretty good. So now we're at this point of the process where we figured out the bend of just how we want this to be and how the cat's gonna attach over here via the V-bands. So we're gonna go ahead and weld up this joint right here. And after that, we're gonna put it back up into the car and we're gonna continue with the fabrication process. Right now, this is purging at about 5 cubic feet. You don't need a ton of purge, but you just wanna let it all purge out nice and slow. Always purge bottom to top to ensure you're getting all the air out. And don't forget, this is all 321, so we are using 347 filler to do all these weld joints on everything. I like to put a little bit more than just 4 or 5 tacks on a tube whenever I go to weld it, just to make sure it doesn't do anything weird when I actually weld the whole thing, so that's why I do that. So now that it's all done being welded, for those of you wondering, we're using 035 filler and we have the machine set at 80 amps and we're probably using about 3/4 to 7/8 worth of the pedal. So you can tell 321, again, as the other episode showed you, it loves that heat. Don't be as scared to, throw it at it. It's gonna be fine. If your purge is good, it's gonna be an awesome weld, so yeah. All right, so Kyle's here. He's gonna help me put this downpipe in because it's a lot easier with 2 people, so let's go ahead and do this. So now that we got the downpipe all in place, the cat is attached via the V-band, we're gonna go ahead and figure out where we're gonna put our Heatsink O2 bungs. And then we're gonna use the nice purge kit I gave you guys to do this. We're gonna put one probably down here towards the end of the downpipe for mainly dyno tuning. It ensures you don't kill the sensor by putting it too close to the turbo. Then the main one, we're gonna put a little higher in the downpipe that the ECU is gonna read off of. That way it's a quicker reading. You might burn up a couple O2s, but I think Kyle can afford it.
Yeah, now that we've got the heatsink, hopefully hang on to them a little longer.
And then also, whenever you're dealing with flex sections on an exhaust, you want to make sure that you put some kind of way to support it where you don't pre-flex the flex section too much, because by doing that, you're going to shorten the life of the flex section. And Kyle has a street car, and we want to make sure that this exhaust is going to last a lifetime. So Heatsink go 2 bungs.
Yep.
We're going to do the one down here, the one up there. We got our pipe jack placed. That way we can, take the downpipe off, put it right back on in the exact same spot. And then we're going to roll right into the rest of the exhaust for Kyle. In order to place these O2 bungs appropriately, we have this Heatsink that, designed by me. It actually mimics the size of a normal O2 sensor. So that way you can place these things, pretty effectively without needing the sensor in your hand. But we have Kyle's, old beat up sensor here to use as well. So hang on to that. And, we're gonna put that, right about there. That's a downpipe. So I forgot something, but luckily Vibrant has it. Thank you, Vibrant. So we're gonna put that in here because I'm in a hurry to get this thing done. I need to purge just the area around the O2 bung, which is exactly what this setup right here is gonna do.
So, wait, so how does it work?
Well, see, there's these things called holes, and the gas shoots out the side, which is exactly where the weld is gonna be, right? So it shoots right at almost the base of the O2 bung. It's almost like I designed it to do this.
Yeah, so you don't need to back purge the entire thing.
No. That's kind of the key. Save on argon and just, like you got a whole piece done, I don't want to purge the whole thing out and waste a bunch of argon, so. Yeah. Just zap a couple tacks and purge out the area. On today's episode of How to Weld a Bung, here we are. So bung number 2, we're gonna go ahead and purge this thing out.
Why you doing all that? Thought you was my wife, but you stabbed me in the back.
Go ahead and put this in. So Project Redemption finally has a true custom one-off 321 downpipe featuring not only vibrant flanges, but a vibrant flex and vibrant tubing. So Kyle, what do you think?
I love it. It looks amazing. Obviously I got all this nice flex to protect your welds from cracking. And honestly, man, it looks like a robot welded these.
Well, wow, I appreciate that, Kyle. We put a lot of hard work into this downpipe for Kyle. We wanted to make sure that we also showed you guys some of my tips and tricks and my welding techniques that I implement on some of my own personal builds. And I think Kyle's gonna be, having a nice setup.
Yeah, I'm stoked on it. Obviously, we still got the rest of the car to do. So you guys are gonna wanna tune into episode 6 where Tanner's gonna tackle all that.
Yeah, I got about 30 hours of welding to do in about 6 hours and we're gonna knock it out.
Yeah. Peace.